Now what I want to do here is show you this sort of evolutionary kind of thing that's happened on my chuck box. Those of you that purchased chuck boxes from me a while back, I'm thinking a year ago and longer, they were made with these slots, these dados that were cut in the ends that then allowed for either a toothbrush holder down here or a shelf support up here. Now, having a toothbrush holder, you'll notice this thing goes all the way in, and this piece here is actually flush with the edge, which of course means the stand can slide over the box. Now, that's sort of the thinking behind that. Now, if you were to put a shelf over this toothbrush holder, it would fit something like that. This part would bolt onto the shelf, it would fit in, and then these two lips would catch each other. So up here in the shelf supports position, if we had a shelf, it would have one of these parts bolted onto it, and it would fit in here, and the two lips would catch. Now that's the way I used to do this piece. And then I got to thinking about it, I thought, well, there's another way to actually do this. And the reason I wanted to rethink it is because, number one, I have to cut these dados in the ends, which takes time and energy. I have to make that part, which takes time and energy. And I have to make that part too. Now, it occurred to me that I could make this part a little bit differently and get the same effect. And it would be a little bit trickier too. So here's how I do it now. I actually make this piece, let's see if I can show you here, so that in the toothbrush holder position, all that really happens is we have pretty much the same part, except that it just folds up, and there it is in the right position. Now the reason it has to fold up and down, by the way, when you go to store it, is because the stand has to slide over the box. So that's why I have to do that way. Now, just as with the old design, it's a toothbrush holder down here, or whatever. Like you move it, which is easy to do just by taking this dowel off and sliding it up. We now have a shelf support. Now, the nice thing about this is I no longer require this part on the shelf. The shelf can be made without that part, so it saved me that, and it saved me from having to put dados in this, although I do have to drill holes, which is not really that hard to do. Now, this part is a little bit tricky, and telling you it took me a little while to figure out how to do this, because you'll notice what happens here is we have a hole that goes all the way through this thing, so that your dowel will go all the way out the other side. Now, how do you drill a hole like that? Well, actually, you don't drill a hole like that. What you do is you cut a slot. You make it out of two pieces. You cut a slot in one piece, and then you have another piece that glues onto the top, and then the dowel will still slide in the slot. Whoever said round pegs can't go in a square hole didn't have a big enough square hole. So that's how you make this part. Then you have to sand off the edges, which takes some time and energy. Now, it isn't hard for me because I have a bench belt sander. You basically round the edge by sanding it. Now, what I wanted to show you here though, is you don't actually have to do that. You could leave the edge to where it's square. The only thing is that it won't hinge up now. Instead of hinging up, see, it'll still look identical. Except when I try to hinge it up, it won't, because that square edge is gonna hit. But what we do, instead of moving this dowel, we move the small dowel, the hinge dowel. Instead of the support dowel, the hinge dowel. That comes out. This goes in. So in other words, what I'm saying, get in effect the same functionality. Now, it won't swivel as this part will, but in effect it does exactly the same thing. It's just that you have to move the other dowel. And of course the same is true up here. If I want to position this so that it will support the shell, then we would do exactly the same thing. We would take the support dowel, put it here. You'll notice it doesn't take much time. It's actually very easy to do. Then you slide the hinge dowel in here, and now you have a nice solid support mechanism for the shell. Now, of course, you can't leave it like that. As soon as you go to put the stand on, you're going to find the stand won't fit. So, if you're building this part and you don't want to have to go to the trouble to round the edge, you really don't have to. All you have to do is move the other dowel to either put it in this position. When you're ready to go, you put it in that position, you're all set.